Okay, camera's rolling. This is a demonstration about parts in the puzzle. I've got a proposed design that I'm going to interpret into a cut paper rendition of this design. We'll do this in two parts. We'll teach you how to cut the pieces so that you get an actual puzzle that will fit together without too much trouble. And then we will show you how to glue it down. That'll be fun. All right, so here we go. I've got my tools. You need to have, I'm working on a glass light table. I'll be turning that on in a few minutes. I've got a roll of masking tape. I find that to be easier to use because it's easier to lift off. I've got an X-Acto knife with a fresh blade, and I have got backup blades in case something happens to this. You know, when you're working, sometimes you'll use a little too much pressure and break the blade. If the blade breaks too many times, one break on a blade, I think you're okay. But if you break it again, you get a line that you're cutting through the paper that are a little too thick, and it can be difficult to get a good cut. I've got the original design, and I've got gray construction paper, black construction paper, and regular copy paper for the white. So black, gray, and white paper. I'm going to tape the pieces of paper down right on top of each other. But before I do, I'm going to make sure to cut them down in size a little bit, because as you can see, the black paper is bigger than my 8.5 by 11. It's a 9 by 12. And it's not good practice to tape over paper if you're trying to hold things down firmly. You really want to tape directly to the surface that your tabletop. You really want to tape directly to that, not over paper, because the paper can flex a little bit, and that can be problematic. So I'm going to cut this down. I'll start with the gray paper. I'll cut it down to a size that will fit underneath my design. Boy, you can tell when you cut paper, if the X-Acto knife is good and the glass is clean, it'll just slide right through that. But when I went to cut the front edge, it wanted to buckle. If you see that happening, just go at it from the other angle. Don't try to push against the outside edge of paper. You will get results you're not hoping for. I'm going to double check to make sure this is big enough. This is big enough. Okay, and basically, I think this is basically, I cut it not in half, but near it in half. And I'm kind of doing this loosely, I'm eyeballing it. I moved that closer to me because it's easier for me to look straight down on the cuts that I'm making. Firmly press the tape down over. Sometimes I even use my fingernail to make sure that it's been held well. And then I tape the gray layer right on top of that black layer. And then finally a white layer. This will give me all three colors. You probably can't see it, but the ghost, I can see the ghost of the dark paper below. I'm going to turn the light table on for a second. And now you can easily see the ghost of the dark paper underneath here. And then finally, I'll tape my design. I've got 2 copies of it. So one will be used for layout later, and the other is going to be cut to pieces here to create my puzzle. Where I learned cutting multiple layers of paper down was when I was working in stained glass. We would have to make multiple carbon copies of a pattern for stained glass window, and you had to tape it down very firmly because this stuff would be used to cut pieces of glass and make them fit, and so it had to be really accurate. Okay, I think with the light on it's a little hard to see the design with the camera, so I'll turn the light off. One other reason I've got it on the light, 2 reasons. The glass is so smooth and hard that it's really good cutting surface. You know when you made it through, you don't feel any grit underneath your knife when you've made the cut through all the layers of paper. So that's one reason I'm doing it this way here. The other reason is that when I've made a cut and I want to check and see if it has gone through, turning on the light will show me any place where the paper is not really cut, because you'll see little particles in between. Instead, when you cut it all the way through, you will see a pretty much of a bright white line where your knife made the cut. Now, key elements, very important. Do not cut the outside edge until you're all done with everything else. You need to cut the inside stuff first to allow it all to fit nicely and stay put together, and then you're going to cut the outside edge to release it. So I will start. I'm going to use my, I could use this ruler. It's a little long, but I was a little concerned about the tripod, but I'll use it. And so, you line up. I'm putting my head as close over the top of this as I can possibly do. I can see the line, and I just cut. Sometimes I have to cut maybe twice. I felt it go smooth. The minute I got it cut well, I felt it go smooth. I'm going to, I'm going to try to remember where I have cut before. You don't want to cut the line twice unless you have to, because it can bunch up the paper. And to save time, I'm cutting lines that are kind of lined up with each other first. And then I'm going to switch to this other direction and cut. I think pressing down hard and using your knife in exactly the same manner is part of the key to success here. And I'm going to switch sides on the knife. Another key to success with using any tool, any implement, is making sure that you have a good firm grip, that it's easy to use, it's comfortable, and also doing it the same way each time. That really matters. Here, let me check my cuts. Oh, liar. Yeah, I can't see the light through it at all. So I'm going to have to trust when I got that smooth feeling that I got the cut that I was looking for. And I kind of feel around to see where I have already cut and where I have not cut yet. I press down wherever I'm cutting because the paper can get loose underneath the ruler if you don't. Don't want that. Oops. See where it bunched up? I did not continue cutting there. Instead, I'm going to go back the other direction. Wherever it bunched up, I go back. That way I don't pull this top piece of paper with me and create a real problem. I don't know if that went all the way through or not, but I'm hopeful. Missed a cut. Missed a corner. When you're cutting through multiple pieces of paper, you have to use a firm hand, a fair amount of pressure to get it in one cut. Okay. This blade is in pretty good shape, but my instinct tells me to change it before I try to cut these circular forms here. By the way, some people are more comfortable using the self-healing mat that we have. I think it's been floating between room 105 and 109. It's rubber. You want to use the clean side. Okay. So, and something about the way this is done, it would be very difficult for me to get around here, so I'm going to move my other table out of the way, make room for myself, and come in from the other side so that I can easily, and I rehearse this before I cut, rehearse. I end up with my body moving around the corner of the table in order to make that cut. And the reason I do that is that I get it as close as I can to the posture that I want to have as I cut, so that I can keep that posture consistent as I go around. And I hold intersections together as the blade goes by. As soon as it passes it, I can let them go. So everywhere a line intersects, you want to hold it down. Keep your fingers away from the knife, though. Right? I mean, that makes sense, doesn't it? right now I'm moving my body around the corner of the table so that I stay in the same position with the knife in relationship to the knife. Sometimes a cut gets more difficult toward the end because little by little you've been building up little particles of paper underneath your knife, and it's pushing them through the cut. All right, the final 4 cuts. If everything has gone well, all of this stuff is cut, I can feel ridges all around here. There are pieces beginning to come loose here. And so what I'm going to do is cut the border. And that made it all the way through. You see, as soon as I got that border cut, the pieces start coming loose. And now it's time to remove stuff. First, I've got my whole layer of the example, the print. So again, my suggestion is once you have a decent sketch completed, that you make a copy of it and we have a Xerox copier down the hall you can use. So peel off the original drawing. I get pieces. I have to separate the pieces that are not part of the drawing. I have a feeling the gray made it all the way through, but then maybe the black didn't, and I'll have to help it. Because I've got a couple of places here where it's not cut. This is where the light table comes in really handy. So I'll turn on the light table, and now I can see through layers. And just finish the little corner there. Yeah, there are a few places where the corners needed a little help. And the light table really helps with that. As you can see, I'm getting a lot of puzzle pieces. So what I'm doing, I am actually, because I cut 3 layers of this all at once, I actually have 3 versions of the same design. I have a gray version, a black version, and a white version. The cool thing about that is that if I care to, I can switch these out. You can't even see that with the light table on, but I can switch these out. I can switch these out and decide, oh, I'd rather use the gray, not the white, or vice versa. So if you're coming in here, you can see I'm doing a demo and I'm filming it, and I don't have a mask on. And you know why? Because when I have a mask on and I bend over to do anything, I can't see a thing. What time is it? Is it 1 o'clock? Okay, well, just work, get your sketches finalized and start transferring them or tracing them onto your Bristol paper. And then you have it, you have the painting 101 is due today. I need to see that. That should be, probably what you should do with that is put it up outside with your name on it. And then the fun part here is the puzzle. That's what we got into this for. We call it the puzzle. And actually in this case, we really do have a puzzle. I have a puzzle made 3 different times. I can choose pieces and place them if I care, you know, if I like that particular, that's not it. Oh, it's flipped over. And boy, you know, you see that it fits the drawing 100% exactly. This is a great big piece. Where does this go? Oh. Or gray, I'm not sure. We'll find out. So I'm going to be placing. Now I get into the interesting thing. I have to alternate the colors. So I will be on the lookout. For instance, here I've got a white and I've got a gray. I'm going to be looking for a black to place in that place. Or I'll replace the black later. I found the white, found the black. I don't know. Did you guys ever do puzzles when you were kids? You did?
I think we put the summit on the wrong paper.
That's okay, put it up.
I think I used sketch paper.
If you're painting, you should be using Bristol.
I used the wrong paper.
And I bet you, well, that's part of what you find out when you do a media study, right? If you don't mind, I'm staying on this because I've got no mask on and I'm gonna get this together so you guys can see it.
You want to put it up anyway?
Yes, please.
I do got a question. Are we supposed to cut out that little the picture thing? The paint?
The painting?
Yeah, yeah. Yes, sir.
No, well, not necessarily, although, you know, if it's got sloppy edges, you might end up cutting it out and placing it
Okay.
in your design. I mean, not in your, in another piece of paper.
Actually, needs to be a little polished right on.
And I need one more white piece. All right, that's this stage, and I'm going to cut the film at this time and put my mask back on so I don't scare people.